Hey guys, and welcome back to another video comparison in terms of storage, and today with the Toshiba P300 and Toshiba X300, both of them desktop class discs. And for those of you that already watched my last video about the TerraMaster D5300C RAID enclosure, then you probably want to skip this video so that it's not boring, because there will be some duplicated info. And talking about that, let's go straight for the performance tests that I already did, and starting with the P300 discs in a single configuration. As you guys can see on screen, in terms of speed test, we got roughly 195 megabytes per second on reads and also on writes. And then when we swap them to a RAID 0 configuration, we got up to 380 megabytes per second on reads and on writes, and I'm talking about on average, which are more than acceptable results in my opinion and for my type of workflow, which I will share a little bit more of info in just a few moments. Now moving on to the X300s, as we guys can see on the screen, we will have in a single disk configuration roughly 185 megabytes per second, both on reads and on writes, also in terms of average. And then when we will move on to the RAID 0 configuration, we will get roughly 370 both on reads and on writes. Now guys, before we move on to the conclusion, I just want to share with you a couple of minutes of some more tests that I did, especially transferring files between the disks, so that you have a better idea in terms of real world performance and not only benchmarks. So in conclusion guys, what we can see by these results is that the P300 has a slight edge over the X300 in terms of total performance, especially when we are talking about transferring huge files. So if you ask me, hey Robert, I'm building a desktop, which disk should I get? If you are only using one disk on your desktop, which I don't suggest, as I stated on other videos, the best option would be the X300, which has 128 megabytes of cache, and for smaller files that the operating system will use, at the end of the day it will be a little bit faster than the P300, which only has 64 megabytes of cache. On the other hand, as I said, the best solution in that particular case is to use an SSD for the operating system and apps, which will be much faster, and then a mechanical hard drive like the P300 or X300 to store photos, movies, and so on and so forth. And in that particular case, the 10 megabytes per second that we see between them will not make a huge difference. Nonetheless, for those of you that are on the market for units like this to be used in RAID 0 configuration, which is what I'll be using, the P300s as a RAID 0 configuration, then the X300s as a backup solutions, which I will share in just a few days, weeks with you guys, then will make no difference. But if you want to really take the most out of them, you will use them as a whale, which is P300 in RAID 0 and X300 in backup solution. And that is it. Hope that this video was helpful in some way, and don't forget to check out down below the link with a playlist with all the storage solutions that I've tested and used so far. Also, if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below so that we can have a great discussion right over here as usual. My name is Roberto, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.